Assalamualaikum, and a very good morning to everyone and to our honorable guest speaker. So a warm welcome to everyone. Today she will be presenting a topic on our publishing, academic and creative writing. But first, before we get started, if you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the chat. We will facilitate them throughout the presentation. Okay, now let me introduce our speaker for a bit. Prof. Dr. Faridah Abdul Manaf is a professor in IIUM as well as Deputy Rector of Internalization and Global Network. She has been teaching English literature at IIUM for almost 29 years and was the Director of Alumni and Career Services Division for a couple of years, dealing with internalization students from numerous countries. She has also handled a few inbound students from various universities in the Asia Pacific region and beyond. Her current role oversees matters pertaining to international students, which include visa issues and financial assistance to students in need. Without further ado, I welcome our speaker to take the floor.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Hafiz. And Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum, everybody. Good morning. Thank you for being here. Now, I have two parts actually to deal with academic writing as well as creative writing, but I will spend more time on academic writing because I think that there's a lot of interest in this. But probably before we start, going into the nitty-gritty of publishing academic papers, I would like everyone to know why they need to publish. Sometimes we go in for the wrong reason. We do it because we want to fulfill our promotion requirements. We fulfill it because we're helping our university to get its ranking, its MIRA, and so on and so forth. Now, if you go in for the wrong reason, the sustainability will not be there. You cannot sustain yourself as a scholar, as an intellectual, which the country needs. Yeah, so we have to go in for the right reason so we can mobilize this nation. Yeah, we educate people, we share our new findings with our fraternity and so on and so forth. So having the right mind, right attitude, right intention is very important in the academia. Because now the way we go, because the intention is not right, so we do things which is against integrity. Yeah, we piggy write other people, we steal our students' work, and so on and so forth. So having said that, I think then we can move on to the importance of publishing academically. And the first thing that you have to know is also the availability of databases. What are the crucial databases? I think MIRA recognizes journals from WOS, Web of Science, and also Scopus and open access journals. So we're going to talk about these three databases. So the importance of databases, you have to know. Sometimes the kind of journal you choose is based on what is it that you want. If you want visibility, you want citation, you want opportunities for collaboration, and you want all this because, sometimes when you apply for grant, like Mohe grant, they will say, where you publish. The more published you are, the more likely you are to win the grant and so on forth. So on and so forth. But I don't know the range of 251 or 250 of you here, whether you are beginners or seasoned researchers who have published. It's hard to say. But I'm talking to, basically, I prepared this paper for beginners, people who have not published or who have just published in a few articles and want to go further. For the seasoned researchers, if you have published many times in Scopus or WOS, then perhaps this one may not apply, may not help you so much. So perhaps we'll get the feedback later as in the Q&A. All right. So this is the importance of databases. Like, you know, the reason for you publishing sometimes is to fulfill a KPI and so on and so forth. But just remember what I said on the outside just now. You know, if you go in as a young scholar, you know, your interest is sharing your knowledge, new findings, and finding like-minded people, then you are on the right side. That will prolong your scholarship and your intellectuality. Yeah. So let's look at Scopus and Web of Science, WOS, and open access databases. I'll start with WOS. It used to be ISI. Don't refer to ISI anymore for high impacts. You know, WOS has been taken over by it's taken over by Clarivate Analytics. Before that, ISI, Thomson, and so on. But now it's Clarivate Analytics. Yeah, you refer to these high impact journals as WOS journals. WOS journals seen as the most prestigious and reputable, but they have strict inclusion criteria for journals, and they have fewer journals and conferences than, say, Scopus. Now, Scopus is owned by Elsevier. It's the largest abstract and citation database. Usually, they have 4 types of quality measure. For example, your H index, which means your impact as a researcher, how well cited you are, you know, based on the number of citation you get, also from other publication. So usually for our promotion, they'll look also at your H index. What is your H index? And this is referring to how well cited you are, and so on. Then they have also Cite Score, SJR, SIMAGO, Journal Rank. I will explain that in a bit, and SNP, Source Normalized Impact per paper. Now, Scopus has more journals than WOS across disciplines. So basically, for new beginners, I would suggest you go for Scopus, unless you've got somebody in your team who well versed with WOS journals. Then of course you can. There's nothing stopping you. But usually, you know, to overcome your fear, start slow. I would say that Scopus is there, more choices there. Next, next journal, next slide. We go to open access journal. Contrary to what we think, it is becoming more popular now, open access journal. There are paid and non-paid journals, yeah. It provides access to high quality articles also. It's peer reviewed. A lot of people think that because of the immediacy of the journal, that the journal does not do peer review. This is a myth. Yeah, they do have peer review. It's quick to be published than, say, Scopus or journals of WOS. And usually it's free, but the good ones charge as well, right? Next. Okay, open access will enhance your visibility and your impact of your work, yeah, because it's more accessible. People can easily download your articles, because sometimes how is sometimes university pays for open access. Sometimes you have to pay it when you download it, and it depends. You have to look at your university, your library databases, and what are the journals available. Next, it's cheaper. Okay, but a reminder that sometimes there are predatory open access journals which will try to mislead and cheat you, charging you a lot of money, but immediacy of publishing is there. You have to check this. You have to check whether that journal is trustworthy or not. How do you do this? You can check through JCR, Journal of Citation Report, which is only accessible if your university subscribe to it. I don't know whether UiTM subscribe to JCR because it's quite expensive. If it doesn't, I think you have enough money to subscribe to it, because, you know, I think UiTM is quite rich. And what it does is that JCR is associated to journals WOS journals, the high impact journals. So it will also rank these journals. So for example, you want to go to high impact journal, the journal will have all this rank there for you. So you can also look at what journals is of your area. So tak adalah nak mengelabur nak cari which journal. Yeah? This should be your guide. And Simago is for Scopus journal, the same thing. It will rank Scopus journals and it will tell you which journal is of your field. That one is open. This one, I think you can access it through the net, but JCR is by subscription. Now, quality access journal also, some of it would be indexed. You know, it's not that they are not indexed, but some good ones are also indexed. So again, one way, can you move on to the next one? Now, some misconceptions on open access journal is that you think that you don't have the copyright. This is not true. You think that all open access journal do not have peer review. This is also not true. Sometimes it's more difficult because, you know, different layers of peer review, but don't get discouraged. Yeah? We'll get into that in a bit. Then you also think that open access journals are not indexed in scholarly database. That's not true also. And that they don't have an impact factor. That's also not true. So next. I think I'll skip this. Why write for publication at all? I have mentioned it before that we have to communicate our new findings, link up to other people of the field, you know, to be noticed as the expert or of the scholar of the field. So the more you are published, the more you are known as an expert of the field. Next. Okay, I think I skipped this. Now I have to remind the young ones, if you have not gotten your associate professor or professor, it's to be consistent with your area of publication. Do not, like me, because I was ill-advised during my time when I was a new recruit as a professor of lecturer of literature. Not many people are in that area. And so, you know, as I started out my career, I was publishing under whatever topics that come to mind, any topic at all under the sky. But when it came to applying for promotion, I was asked, so what's your field? Because you are published in everything. So do bear in mind, usually we will follow our expertise based on our master's thesis or area of concentration or your PhD. Then consistently publish in that area so that by the time you get your professorship, people will know, he is a professor or she is a professor of this field, you know, in-depth study, right? So start early, look at what your master's or PhD, I would go, if you have PhD, just, you know, if you haven't gotten your PhD, then concentrate on your master field of area and consistently in that. But take for example, somebody is an expert on Malaysian literature in English. So sometimes bosan juga if you want to just publish on works on Malaysian writers. But you could also expand that into post-colonial writing or literature in English. So you just publish that, in that field, not necessarily Malaysian literature only, but a global picture of the field. By the time you apply for your associate, you have established yourself of a particular field. Can you follow that, what I'm saying? Nina Katerina says your ITM library subscribe JCR. That's wonderful. So the rest of you, make sure you make use of this. You must know how to use JCR and Simago to help you choose your journal. Next. To publish, you can't escape reading. Reading is very crucial. You have to read because for scholarly academic writing, this is all there is. It's not, we're not merely writing opinions. Kalau you don't refer to other scholarly sources, citations, publication citations of other people, other scholars, it doesn't make it an academic writing. Academic writing, like your thesis, a lot of, citation of other people's research and findings. So reading is key issue to publishing. Next. Next. And I think that how you do this is that if you have chosen a journal, you have to study the journal's culture, the format, the politics, and so on, the style of writing, style of presentation. You have to study it so that the article you're going to produce will be of the same standard. Editors are accustomed to having the same kind of standard and framework. So that's what one of my friends did. She's widely published, and I said, how do you do it? She said, I study the journal. I really study the style, the language, the politics, and so on and so forth. So very often when she submits to a journal, she doesn't get rejected. Next. Before writing, plan and organize your thought. This is very important, that it takes planning. Yeah, this includes doing a thorough literature review. Do not repeat. Do not come up with topic which is already obsolete. You have to know what is trending, what will create interest. Yeah, what will attract attention of editors. It has to be really attractive. So you really have to review lah, do some scanning and skimming of what's out there. Next. Now, one advice is that you communicate with editors, co-authors and colleagues to gain multidimensional perspective. As I said, you find out later that one of the practice of the frequently published academic friend of mine, he would send many drafts to different people for feedback and so on before finally sending the final piece, for submission. All right, next. So this is the larger picture, the planning stage. You will identify questions to be answered, analyzers to be reported, and target place of publication. You cannot send the same piece to different journals expecting the same audience. Tak boleh, ya? Because one particular journal would have a specific audience or interest. You cannot send the same one to different journals. Ya, tak boleh. Because you have to personalize your paper according to the need of the journal that you're submitting. Now you have to set framework for document, outline, page size, headings, and then you've got the first draft, and then more presentable second draft, and then a good third draft. It may be more than 3 drafts. As I said, my friend, did 10 to 12 drafts before finally submitting the final draft as the excellent piece. So before you submit, you have to do your fine tuning, proofreading, editing. You have to do it. It must be a clean sheet, just like your proposal or your first draft thesis. It has to be perfect. Otherwise, you are going to be delayed further, because back and forth, if the editor likes your content but not your language, will be sent back, will take another year. You have to rejoin the queue and so on and so forth. So be very meticulous with what you submit, because I have been sitting as a chief editor or editor of some scopus journals. What I receive is just sometimes sloppy work. I have to send 3 or 4 times back and forth to say do this, check this source, whether it's accurate, you have to be consistent, look at your grammar, look at your spelling, look at your format. It takes time. So sometimes what could have been done in 6 or 1 year, it can be extended to 2 years. You waste time. Yeah. Next. Okay, next. This is very basic. I will show you the picture draft. This is it. So your paper should have this: title, abstract, introduction, body, discussion, and references. Same way, yeah, as you're doing your thesis. Next. Write to generate novel ideas, concepts with critical thinking, and avoid generalization. And then, of course, editing service and proofreading is necessary to ensure a high quality article. Your paper must create the buzz in the discipline. It must not be like something that people have read but just a different dimension. That can be also. But if it's totally new ideas, new innovation, definitely the interest will be there. Yeah, next. Okay, things to be reminded. You have to conform with journals' requirement, guidelines, and ethical standards. This is very important. If you ignore this, chances of your article to be rejected is there. Each article is first reviewed internally by editors, yeah, and then sent to external reviewers. Next. Okay, revision. Sometimes you'll be requested to send a revised version within a few weeks. Next, don't get discouraged if the comments or feedback that you get is long, it's very painful. Try to address, because, you know, to get a real scholarly article is not easy. You have to put in the effort. Do not get discouraged. Yeah. Next. Okay, this is sharing some of the tips for article publication in Scopus, or no, I'm still using ISI, WOS now. Yeah, tak ada dah ISI. Now, one lecturer said, write about a trending topic or subject and make a crystal clear argument. Publishing, he says, involves a lot of rejections and disappointments. Never submit your first draft. Read it, seek other experts' opinions. Next. Work with a writing partner. For newcomers, this is what I would advise you. Work with 2 or 3 co-authors, but no piggy writing. Yeah, you have to really find a serious partner or serious partners. The distribution of work must be equal. No piggy writing, because again, I said, integrity and transparency must be there. Yeah, tak boleh like, okay lah, my name, next time I write, I put your name. Please don't do this. I know a lot of lecturers across universities in Malaysia do this, and maybe also abroad. Yeah, do not do this. It's not honest. It doesn't help you establish yourself as a credible scholar. What we want in the academe is to be credible scholars. Buat kerja tu dan celebrate that, you know. It's your work, it's your baby. Although you only do 50% of the paper shared with 2 others, you'll be proud that it's your baby. It's really you. It's your voice, it's your thinking, and so on. We have to groom ourselves to be true scholars. Kalau tak, how else does this country grow? Kalau semua orang nak menipu, shortcuts and all that, you know, we don't want this, you know. So choose your partner wisely. No piggy riders. Serious academic, serious scholars. This is how we brand our university. We brand ourselves. So that if you're invited to speak, people say, I know Muhammad Emirul. Dia memang pakar. You know, bila dia speak je, tak payah tengok apa ni, dia punya paper, tak payah script pun. Dia talk off the cuff because dia memang pakar. You want that kind of reputation. Tak guna kalau kita claim in our CV, oh, I have 30 index journals, but you know half of that is your students' work. You piggy write. Don't do that. Yeah. Kalau you want to work with your student, make sure you also have input 50%, not as proofreaders, not as grammar checkers. Yang tu you cannot claim like you're the expert because you just proofread the language, but not the content. No input in the content. Yeah. So I hope the future generation of academics will be true academics, true scholars that the country can be proud of. Ya, kalau tak, itu yang orang kata Profesor Kangkung, Profesor Kangkung. We don't want that, right? When we are a professor, we are true professor, that kind of thing. Now, okay, as I said, and this lecturer will say, share with colleagues, share with friends, get their feedback, and so on and so forth. With him, he would put a few articles in the pipeline at one go and then work, you know, one by one, quality versus quantity. But it's nice going, if you have an idea, put it aside and then put it in one file, just put it and then revisit it. In that sense, you never run out of ideas so soon on what to write. Next. For new writers, okay, this one repeated again, editing, proofreading. Select top tier journals to publish an article. But for the newbies, you know, I would say that start by bit by bit, start with scopus, and then find a partner that has established or has experience in publishing in top tier. You have to help one another. Yeah, for a university to grow, you have to grow together. It cannot be individuals, you know, like, okay, you know, I just want to be known. I just want to be the one. So therefore, whatever information I have, I just keep it to myself. If you do this, the university cannot grow as a strong university. So I learned this from Singapore Management University. They just share and share everything. Even with outsiders, you know, they just share their connection, their international network freely because they believe whatever you give will bounce back. And I believe in that too. Yeah, if you bring in as many people into your circle and share with one another, then, you know, that culture will spread to the rest of your institution and you will come up stronger as an institution. Because a strong individual does not make a strong institution. It has to be teamwork, group work, you know, the culture has to be widespread. You know, for ITM to be ranked higher than say UM, you have to share. You have to help one another. Okay. So the other one is also search engine optimization, CEO. This will help you get your papers discovered and visible, yeah, for people to search. I'll go into this in a lot more deeper. Next journal, there you go. The use of SEO or search engine optimization is to enhance your visibility. How can readers find you, read you, cite you? So how do we do this? Some tips, yeah, but this is not exhaustive. I just put in a few here. You have to have a friendly article title. Your article cannot be too long. Yeah, shorter is better. Short, and your keywords must be within the first 65 characters, or perhaps it has to be repeated. We'll go into that in a bit. You have, number two, you have to optimize the abstract. First two sentences count, which highlight your essential findings and keywords. Repeat again and again this keyword in your abstract. Some people 3 to 4 times, some people, 3 to 6 times in the abstract. So that SEO is able to extract, yeah, these keywords, and whenever it appears, your article will come out. Next. Again, repeating keywords in your identified keywords on this manuscript submission site. Now everything is online. Yeah, if in the past you have to do a cover letter to the editor saying the strength of your manuscript and so on. But now everything is usually submitted online. So you have to be, you have to be careful how you word your keywords, right? Be consistent in use of your name as an author. I have a long name, Nur Faridah Abdul Manaf. Sometimes I go as Faridah Manaf. Sometimes I go as Nur Faridah Manaf, Nur Faridah Abdul Manaf. You know, if I do that, the computer will say I'm 3 people. So I'm not captured under one name. So be consistent with your use of the name so that everything that you do, everything that you publish will be under one name. It's very important. And then what you do is also link your article to your personal webpage, your blog, social media, ResearchGate, and so on and so forth. for you to be able to be widely read. Again, use headings in your article and incorporate also keywords in them. Cite your own word, co-authors, previous publications, but don't overdo citing your own word, your own work. But it's necessary that you do so that people know that you are an expert of that field. Next. Important reminder, again, language editing, proofreading. I've said this many times. I repeat it during this talk to show the importance of this. If you don't have this, definitely you submit, they throw it into the basket or delete it. Yeah. If your article addresses an issue and provides a solution and a new understanding, it gets cited eventually. Next. Okay, as I said, open access brings in more citation. You have to promote your articles to social media, ResearchGate, Google Scholar, and academia. Next. It's basic, yeah, I think you know this. That's it. So that is by and large what I have to say on academic writing. Now moving on to creative writing. I think I have like maybe 10 minutes before Q&A. What time do we stop, yeah, Hafiz? 10 Q&A?
We should stop around 11:30, but I guess.
Okay, all right. Okay, I can stop at 10 and then we go for Q&A, inshallah, yeah? Or sharing, you know. I may not be able to answer everything, but there's 250 heads here, so maybe the rest of you who have better experience can also share. Yeah, we will utilize your experience as well in the last half an hour. But creative writing, I've only this to say. Yeah, I would advise, because now creative writing counts in Myra. You do get marks for creative writing. I would advise this: you submit your creative pieces online magazine or local journals. There are many that accepts creative writing. Like we have a scopus journal in IIUM called Asiatic. We accept creative writing pieces. There's also Journal Melayu in UKM. They also accept creative writing pieces in Malay. And then there are various. There may be other journals around the country. I would advise you to submit to magazine or organization that organize writing competition. The advantage is that if you win, even if consolation prize, you would establish yourself already a winner of a consolation or a writer, you know, with consolation prize in this journal. Do that. First, establish yourself as a writer. And for that, you have to send in, you know, whatever outlet you have out there. You have to Google, you just search it, yeah, Google where to send. I give this advice to my master student, literature, and he did that. By now, my God, he's so established. He's invited online to speak, to share his poems and his short stories and so on. And he's still doing PhD first year, but he established himself while he was doing master with us. So I would advise you to do that. Don't look down on creative writing, because it's one way to communicate our academic interests. What I do is I'm in this post-colonial thing as well. I deal with feminism, I deal with racism, I deal with class, gender, divide, and so on. So all my creative writing work will center around what concerns me as an academic as well, right? So in fact, now I'm working on a historical novel that talks about cultural identity, political identity of the Nusantara. And as I was doing my research, I have to do research. I have to read lots of historical books so that I get facts, for my novel. And I was doing this research, I bumped into another important historian, trained in Cambridge University. He's now teaching at Australian National University. And he did this. He also wrote a historical novel because he said, I can say things freely as a creative writer than when I write as an academic in historical, in history journals and so on. And I bought his book, and indeed, you know, there's a lot of freedom and fluidity in fiction writing. Fiction mixed with facts, and you know, it's a safe thing because you can be more transparent with what you believe in, that kind of thing. So one start is that starting with journals, local journals, overseas journals that accepts creative writing pieces. The other thing is that my first book, The Art of Naming, A Muslim Woman's Journey, I do it bilingually. There's a mistake in that because I assume if I write bilingually, there will be more readership. Not true, yeah? Not true. Because people who pick up the book say, I don't know English, I don't want to buy this. Those who picked it and saw the Malay version say, I don't read Malay, I won't buy this. So I would advise, if you're thinking of being read widely, Malay as a language is very good to write in creative writing. A lot of readership there. You will make money if you write in Malay. English, you do write in English because you want to reach to a certain audience. Like I write in English about Islam, about being Malay, because I want to share that heritage with non-Malays, be it in Malaysia and outside. And usually they would appreciate this. For example, in that first book, The Veil is My Body, that has been used as a text in US, Iran, Australia, New Zealand as a point of entry to multiculturalism, or as a point of entry to understand the veil, tudong, or as a point of entry to understand Muslim women, or as a point of entry to understand Islam. So you have, before you write, think about what is your objective, what is your end goal. Don't simply write for the sake of writing, for the sake of publishing. You must have a target audience. You have to be clear about what is it you want to achieve with this publication. So that's my advice. And as intellectuals, if you do creative writing, your intellectuality will also be there. And people usually appreciate this. Yeah, appreciate this. What else is there? Yeah? I self-published that. I self-published that because I was doing my PhD research on women writers in Malaysia. And my finding is that self-publishing is more, will pay better because everything you do, the profit will go to you 100%. It's your hard work. You deserve that 100% returns, ROI. But if you send your work to a publisher, usually in Malaysia, publisher will want 60% of the profit made of the book. You only get 40%. Some of them will require 70%, and you only get 30% of your hard work. They don't do anything, they just distribute your work. So sometimes I think to beat the system, I would rather self-publish. But you don't simply self-publish because the quality must be intact. So what I do, again, I took the advice of what was mentioned earlier. I will send the draft to a few award-winning writers around the world who are friends. You know, send them, get them to comment, send it for proofreading, do the amendments. Once I'm happy, I will send it to the printer. And book cover is very important. I work with an artist to get attractive book cover, because book cover plays a lot of a good role, yeah, in promoting your book. The first thing they see is the book cover. If it's ugly and all that, color is off, they will not look at it twice. So be very meticulous about the production of your self-published book, and there's nothing to be ashamed of. Some people look down on self-publication, but even the best mind in the West, Walt Whitman, siapa ni? The 19 Emerson. Walt Whitman. Walt Whitman self-published, yeah, and he's canonized in English literature. And then a lot of people, Wong Nam self-published, and he's also a great mind. The second book, I work with Silverfish. Yeah. I will show you.
Now I can see it.
This is my latest. I was supposed to go, Dr. Mazli, yeah, who organized this. I must thank her. She cannot masuk. Keluar dan tak boleh masuk, dah penuh. Sorry, Mazlin. Dr. Mazlin, I was supposed to visit you guys before COVID and then the lockdown. So I'm not able to do readings at your university, but one day I'm able to do that and share with you my latest travel poetry. Yeah, for those who are doing research on travel writing, this is travel poetry, another dimension, very interesting. You know, maybe if I talk to you, I will share with you some of the works to do with travel poetry. Not travelogue, travelogue ni macam fiction, but this is travel poetry. So I will share with this whenever we meet next time, insyaAllah, after lockdown. For those who want to order, you just let Dr. Mazlin know lah. I can give you cheaper price. Outside is 25. I can give you maybe 15. And this is the other book that we did with creative writing students in IIUM and creative writing students in University of Lahore, Pakistan. So what we do, collaboration, we take the best example stories and poetry and publish. I've got one piece here also. It's to do with race for those who are doing research on race, racial issues in Malaysia. There's one short story which I have here. Is called "And Race Is My Name." It's about the debate we have about orang Melayu sentiasa dilihat sebagai kejayaannya because the government help us, because of the tongkat issue. Not necessarily true, and I raise all these debates in this book. And race is my name, the argument back and forth between other people who said that, oh, we are here because we are being helped by the government, privilege, scholarship, privilege, masuk university, privilege, and so on. So this is the Malay voice, because we are not able to talk about this openly. Always we say, we can't argue back because it's sensitive issue. So we always get bashed on, like you're not qualified, but you still get the job. So let's hear the other story on this, the other argument. Is there. I think we should discuss it in our literature classes as well as our political classes. Now, I think 5 minutes to the hour. I think I'll stop here. What else do I... you have, once you have your books out, you have to assert yourself. The sad thing about being in Malaysia is that we don't have book agents. Kalau in the West, the agents will do everything for you, organize your talk shows on TV, radio, university. But here, you're the writer, you're also the book distributor, you're also the marketeer. Everything you have to do yourself. So you have to promote your book by constantly doing readings, and then perhaps, now with webinar and all that, YouTube, you can also promote your work through those channels and platforms. So I think I'll stop here, and we will allow question and answer for the next 30 minutes or 35 minutes. Thank you so much for listening in. Yeah, I hope you have benefited. Thank you.
Any questions?
If there are no questions, you may want to share your own experience, yeah? Publishing, your disappointment, what you do, and so on. Yes. How many of you have published in scopus or WS journals? Maybe start with those people first. Okay, we have one question here. So we've got one question from Megalai. Can you share your experience with first publication, obstacles and challenges? Yeah. I think, what I did was I worked with a sparring partner. So 50% work. Yeah, so with that, you are comfortable with your partner. So I think that kind of like overcome my fear of publishing, and it was readily accepted. But there were also times when I sent the open access, the feedback that came in. Okay, sorry. Okay, Dr. Rohana said my speaker is not working. All right. Mani Magalai, there are also times when I get the feedback from open access editors. I have, hold on a minute. The feedback is really painful, long, a lot of work to be redone, and so on and so forth. I did get this. A lot of, when you see that, you get discouraged. But I think you should not, That's why I think if you work with somebody else, if you don't have the time, you can sit with the person and say, well, I don't have time, but perhaps this is what we can do. With me holding so many posts, administrative posts is something which can backfire. This is another reminder that I want to share with young scholars, young recruits, young researchers, young lecturers. If you can avoid taking any administrative posts that will take you away from your research the first 5 years after you get back from your PhD. These 5 years, use it, fully utilize it to research and write, so that by the end of your third or fourth, fifth is quite long actually, third year you target, by third year after you come back from your PhD, you already got your AP, Associate Professor, right? So you have to work like that, because to be honest, once you have responsibility as administrators, don't fool yourself. Time, because in IIUM, for example, but maybe it's not so bad in other universities. RUs, I know they can do both, because their teaching hours is like 3 hours a week. That's bearable. That's really heaven for us. But here we're teaching 12 hours a week. You don't count your community engagement responsibility, you don't count your thesis supervision, your teaching preparation, and so on and so forth. So of course, once you hold an administrative work, very difficult unless you've got a good sparring partner where you can afford to have that 50% input and the other 50% input is from your partner. Then it's workable. Otherwise, I would advise young people, forget about position, because that doesn't really promote your scholarship. That doesn't really promote you as an intellectual. The administrative post does not. You just do it for name. That will always come later. After you have established yourself as a top scholar, you will perhaps be the VC or the dean. That will come later. And by then you have less to worry, because you've already gotten your associate professorship, you have already gotten your professorship. Yeah, I hope that answers your question, Mani Mangalai. Whenever the challenges will always be there, overcome it, don't turn away, don't walk away. Face it, and then try to deliver. Next question. Christina, I saw Amalia Christina also, she was at my conference a few years ago and sent a publication. We're still working on, there you go again, it's in the pipeline, the paper, inshallah. Amalia Christina, you want to say something?
I'm just happy to hear from you again, Prof.
All right, yes, no problem.
I've done my PhD, so Alhamdulillah, finished.
On terrorism?
Yes, doctor.
Have you published? Have you published?
Yes, doctor. Under
Where?
UiTM.
Huh? UiTM?
Under UiTM, yes, also.
You're
also working on another one under Britannica.
Okay. I think with your topic on terrorism, there's a wide interest in Western journals. So check your JCR, your SEMAGO, to look at which journal are interested in Islam, women, terrorism, and so on. Recently, University of Maryland collaborated with us on this issue. You see how interested they are. So, move outside Malaysia as well,
Yes, Prof.
Botanica
Thank you.
is, yeah, but do look abroad because you want to also establish yourself abroad, right? To be
Okay.
noticed in the West so that people will say, okay, next time let's call Dr. Amelia because she's an expert on terrorism in Southeast Asia, for example. Do that. Establish yourself early.
Thank you, Prof.
Right. Thanks. Next.
Prof, there are some questions in the chat. I think
Uh-huh.
that might several questions
Okay.
that popped up.
Okay, let me check. Tengok mata pun tak nampak ni. Norazlina Ahmad, what's your advice to give to novice writers who are not confident enough to send papers to scopus journals because they think their methodology is not strong enough? One reminder to all writers, whether you're doing academic writing or creative writing, is not to prejudge, not to judge yourself. Let other people judge you. So as I said, if you're not confident, get somebody else who's serious about publishing to work with you, and then study the scopus journals inside out, look at how methodology is put forth, and then you just follow. Nothing can go wrong with that. And then, and then send perhaps that paper to seasoned researcher or people who have published widely, get their comments. Yeah. Remember, it's not the first, second, third draft, but maybe you need more. So do that. If you don't do that, you'll never start. Yeah. We all started from that point. We were all not confident, but we push and push and push. And once we have the experience, then we become more confident in our field. Right? Next, Oswald Timothy Edward. Thank you, Prof. You did mention just now, Myra is recognizing creative writing. Is self-published creative writing included? I suppose so. You're not going to declare like, this is self-published, right? Once it's published, you submit je lah. You submit your work. Yeah, you submit your work. So they will look at the book as a product. All right. They look at the publisher and then just see that as a product. Don't go around and say, this is a self-published book. I don't think you do that, right? With your other articles and so on. Like, this one I paid 1,500 to be published. You don't claim that. It's just a finished product. So give it a shot, right? Otherwise, you can send your creative writing to scopus journals, as I mentioned just now. Start with, we accept poems, we accept short stories in Asiatic, which is Scopus Index and ESCO Index and other indexes also. Check out our Asiatic from IIUM, and other journals I've yet to see. I know I publish with a Journal Melayu. It's My Site Index. My Site is a Malaysian index. You get some point in Myra, but I think don't publish for Myra's sake. Publish because you want to be known as a writer. You want to share your work as a creative writer, right? Okay. Next, Dr. Muhammad Zaidi Mat Saad. Nowadays, universities are encouraged for scopus publication. What is your opinion regarding refereed journals, especially for newcomers? I would encourage newcomers to publish even in non-index, because non-index also you do get recognition from your university and also from Myra. So start, just write and publish. Once you have that confidence, you will go bigger and bigger and higher and higher. Yeah. So overcome your fear. If you don't try at all, you will never publish. Those who don't publish are those who don't try, who don't submit. Prof, do we need to find co-write? Yeah, why not? Don't stop at nothing, because I work with Professor Ruzi from UKM because she was my buddy friend when we were in New Zealand together. So I'm comfortable with her and we share more or less the same area. So we work together. And she's from UKM and I'm from IIUM. A lot of our work are collaborative. Why not? Yes. It's encouraged, in fact. If you apply for FRGS, if you have a co-researcher from other university, more marks, and then you publish. As I said, for a nation, for a country to grow, for a university to grow, it cannot be individual work. Yeah, we have to be together. How to build a networking collaboration with top authors? Approach them. There's not, if you work with people you know best. You know, if you know a friend who is top author, you could say, well, I've got this project. I wish to invite you to co-write with me. See what he or she says. You know, just approach people. Start with people you know. Okay, Mani Magalai, thanks, Prof. Okay. Yes, Ahmad Kamaruzaman, admin can share. Okay, that's not. Thank you, Jazakumullah, very interesting. Thank you. Right.
Prof, sorry to interrupt. There's another question that was posed by our lecturer, Prof. Nushiha. She's watching this through stream, so she can't put
Okay.
the question.
Yes.
So her question is, there are two questions. What motivates you to continue writing? And also, she asked, what is your all-time favorite book?
Whoa. All right, that's tough. What motivates me? You know, in the past, I think it's the love for knowledge. It's my interests are varied. You know, I'm just like pick any topic. I easily I get interested easily in it. You know, I think being a literature person, you see the different dimension, you know, because literature is about life. You have to be interested in everything that has to do with life, people, culture, politics, religion, and so on and so forth. So, you know, that has to come in. And I think reading helps as well. Now, Dr. Shiha, Prof. Shiha, who is also a friend of mine, she's asking, what's my favorite book? Very tough, Shiha. There are so many books, but at the moment I'm reading this book, Mataram. That is by Professor Anthony Reid, that professor I was talking about, who's a top historian. And this is his first creative novel. So I'm reading his work and finding it very interesting. Mataram, yeah. This is about Dutch rule in Indonesia in the 17th century. It so correlates with the historical book that I'm writing, because I'm also writing about Portuguese rule and Dutch rule in Malaya and in Nusantara, in fact. So I'm reading that as part of preparation for this novel as well. So I think at the moment I'm interested in anything historical, yeah, because that kind of like define us, our nation as well. What else? All right, I think ada lagi tak, Hafiz? Any more question?
No. Does anyone want to ask any questions?
Yeah, I would like to hear more from you. It cannot be a one-way traffic thing, right? I'm sure there's a lot of things in 250 of you. I do want to learn from you as well. So whoever
there's a new question.
All right.
Faridah. Salam, Prof. How do you,
yeah.
It's a newest one. I can just read it to you.
Shida, is it?
Yeah, Shida.
Okay, Shida, Salam, Prof. How do you suggest? Shida was our alumni. She's our alumni now teaching in UiTM. How do you suggest merging creative literature with language learning when publishing papers, especially for literatures who are from literature background? Now, Shida, you cannot categorize yourself into either or. It should not stop you writing creatively just because you teach language ITM. Pursue your passion, and you can always bring back these literary pieces into your English language classes. The divide should not be there. In fact, I think we should intensify the usage of literary text in our English language. Students will learn better. Yeah, if you use literary text more, you can play around with the text, have fun with it, turn it into songs, turn it into a play. You know, when I was teaching poetry, it was very difficult to get the attention of my students. So what I did was, I said, read the poem and interpret it as you like, and then put up a play, stage it. So, you know, they were doing 20th century English poet, Rupert Brooke, on war, and then, you know, they acted on their own understanding of the poem. Not necessarily it fits, but that's their interpretation, how they understand it. So do this so that your students will be more motivated to learn English, not afraid of English, because they understand it from the humanistic perspective, the humane aspect of literary text. You know, play around with that. Yeah? Yeah. Sorry, I left just now because tak boleh masuk. Can you hear me?
Yes, Prof, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, I'm just here to conclude.
Yes.
Yeah, I think many has left. Yang tinggal 8 orang. Thank you for waiting. I apologize for just leaving like that. I tried to masuk balik, tak boleh.
Sebab tadi penuh, Prof.
But again, I would like to conclude by saying thank you for listening in. I wish you all the best. Jangan tunggu. After this, start finding a co-writer and start planning to send in your first paper. Ya, jangan takut. And then as I said, follow all those advice and start publishing and sending your paper. We try open access juga. And then do a few paper lah. Maybe your co-partner will say, okay, I do this and you do this, but also you collaborate 50-50 each. Then you've got 2 papers already, different topics, and then sent to different journals. Yeah. So all the best. You can always contact me for anything else. And this kind of talk must continue. We have to keep the momentum going. What we do at IIUM is we run publishing workshops. So kita akan guide the young ones how to publish and call people macam ni lah. So get that culture going. It cannot be like a one-off. It has to be regular until everybody is in that mode. You know, everybody is like interesting. If you meet yourself, among yourself along the corridor, what are you working on? Ya, jumpa kat bilik ambil air wuduk, what are you working on now? There must be an answer. And then you share and you talk, and then that should get the mood going. So thank you so much once again to Dr. Mazlin, to Hafiz, and the organizing committee. I wish you all the best. Thank you so much. Yeah. Bye-bye. Assalamualaikum.